Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I'm Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll talk a little bit about the Kansas City Royals and their spring training ups and downs as they continue through their preseason schedule. We'll talk about the NCAA college um, conference tournaments, which are now here. Mike actually started a few games even today as
Yeah.
we're recording this. We'll maybe talk a little bit about television if we feel like it.
hmm
We'll start today with the NFL and the offseason moves that have happened in the last couple of days. There's been a lot of free agent signings. A few players have been released from various teams. Like San Francisco's made some pretty major changes, I guess, in the last couple of days. But naturally, because we are Kansas City fans, we'll start with the free agent signings that the Chiefs have made. Uh, Seems like we've picked up Christian Fulton, cornerback from the Chargers, and two players from the 49ers, Elijah Mitchell at running back, and Jalen Moore at left tackle. Like, uh, any of these moves gonna make a huge difference for the Chiefs next season, or what do you think so far from these pickups?
Well, I guess you would hope that the Jalen Moore signing makes a huge difference for the Chiefs in a positive way. That they've had trouble at left tackle. Last year, they rotated through several players, including Wani Morris, Kingsley Sumatai, uh, the draft. You got Humphreys
Humphreys?
in for
Yeah,
a game, and then Tooney. Um, and none of those guys tended to do that seem to do that well. So I guess I think what the Chiefs really wanted was Ronnie Stanley from the Ravens, who ended up staying with Baltimore. So they had
yeah,
to go with somebody else, and they ended up going with Jalen Moore, who was not a full-time starter in San Francisco. He was the backup pretty much to Trent Williams, who's considered to be one of the best left tackles in the game, maybe a future Hall of Fame player. So maybe being his backup's not so bad. Maybe
yeah.
the Chiefs got a serviceable starter at left tackle. That's good. Maybe they can
Maybe
move.
without the mileage too, then, right?
Yeah,
So he's not.
yeah. And they got rid of Tooney when they traded him to the Bears, so they needed a left guard as well. So maybe that could be Morris, that could be Sumatai. So maybe the tackles the Chiefs have weren't that superior, but maybe they could be pretty good guards if things go right. So
Yeah,
it's hard to say what happens. So hopefully, the Jalen Moore signing is a good one. Christian Fulton, I guess, is a decent cornerback. Um, I guess maybe he helps McDuffie out, being maybe a solid number two. Elijah Mitchell was a good running back for San Francisco when he was healthy. So maybe he is somebody that can be the starter, or someone that's close to challenging Pacheco as the starter. I think maybe I don't know if he or I don't really think of him as being a third down guy. Samaje Perine actually went back to the Bengals.
yeah,
So um, the Chiefs did re-sign Hollywood Brown as a receiver, so I guess he's technically was a free agent signing that the Chiefs got. Uh,
yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins left. Jordan or
Justin
just
Reed.
Justin Reed left.
Yeah,
Turk Wharton left. A number of other players have left so far, so it seems like
yeah,
the Chiefs are kind of trying to keep what they have and then find as many players through the draft as possible. They did pick up two seventh round compensatory picks today. So they have two new, including if they keep it a new Mr. Irrelevant. So maybe they'll draft the next Ryan Suckup or Brock Purdy. I guess neither
hopefully they don't
the
they
Chiefs
don't need a
don't need
Brock Purdy
either
type.
a kicker right
Yeah,
now or a,
uh,
um, a quarterback,
right.
unless Harrison Butker somehow turns out to be Justin Tucker and his current legal troubles that seem
Oh
reminiscent
yeah,
reminiscent of the Deshaun Watson
Right.
legal situation.
Yeah. You'd think that with the Deshaun Watson situation that other players would at least be aware that that is something that you should not do.
Well, I think most of Tucker's were fairly old, so they're several years old now. So
Oh,
the same this was happening about the same time as Deshaun Watson. I guess it didn't get out maybe in the same
they're
way.
concurrent offenders as
Yeah,
opposed
it's like
to
I think most of
yeah.
them were like 2016-ish or something. I think it was
Oh yeah, that would
mostly when or
overlapping.
it's been a few years for Tucker's situation, at least most of them anyway. Maybe there've been a couple more recent ones, but um, so yeah, I don't know. Um,
Great.
but anyway, we don't have to talk about that. But anyway, the Chiefs hopefully don't get involved in any scandals like that. I guess Xavier Worthy to get arrested. Do you see that? But it seemed like that was something was overblown. The charges have already there aren't going to be charges filed at all, so
Right.
probably won't go as far as. I mean, who knows what a suspension might entail, but it's not going to be a Rasheed Rice probably situation with three.
Yeah, I think there still could be a suspension for Worthy, but it wouldn't be as severe as what we expect to hear
Yeah,
from Rasheed Rice.
yeah. So um, yeah, the Chiefs offseason, it's hard to say where things are going, what things are happening. There's a lot of big names that have switched teams and trades that have taken place since even the last time we were talking. I think this is,
And quarterbacks have changed teams. Like, I mean, that like really remakes franchises when
yeah, we
QBs
had so
switch. Like, so
we
starting
talked
quarterbacks
about
have changed.
we talked about how Seattle was losing some of its top players. Lockett was being released. Um,
DK Metcalf asked for
yeah,
a
Metcalf,
trade,
he's been traded now to Pittsburgh.
right?
Pittsburgh is still, I think, looking for their quarterback. I think they're looking at because Justin Fields now has left and gone to the Jets. I think also Geno Smith left Seattle to go to the Raiders. Sam Darnold went to Seattle from Minnesota. Uh, Former Pittsburgh quarterback Kenny Pickett is now in Cleveland, where I guess he will challenge for the starting role. Jordan
Possibly.
Thompson Robinson's going to be back up in Philadelphia, where I guess he's more like Jalen Hurts than Pickett probably was, maybe, or more of a running quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, Pickett was kind of a
And
runner too.
somebody also went to Daniel Jones ended up signing with the
The
Colts, I
Colts
think,
and
right?
Daniel Jones signed with the
Yeah.
Colts. Yeah, yeah.
It
Didn't
was-
mention Justin Fields to the Jets. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So do you think any of these teams have improved dramatically from these moves, or are these all just sort of like rearranging chairs at this point?
I think it's mostly range. I think the Raiders have probably improved. I don't know if they've improved enough to keep up with the Joneses in the AFC West, but I think they've improved since Geno Smith has been a solid NFL quarterback the last few years. Uh,
Yeah. That's
Darnold,
that's that's kind of a boring team that's maybe shaping up there though, right? Because Geno
yeah,
Smith isn't flashy, but he's like a high completion percentage type guy. So not necessarily, the downfield threat that they were always aiming for in the
no,
past.
no.
But now Pittsburgh has like two great receivers on the same team, like but they don't have a quarterback to throw it to them yet,
But
right?
Pickens and Metcalf are both seem kind of personality kind of
You think they'll get along with each other, or do you think
probably not. I
they're
don't
both going to
know.
want the ball like all the
Both gonna
time,
want the
right?
ball all the time. Maybe you have to get someone like Aaron Rodgers in there to be the quarterback for a year. Um, I guess you could bring Russell Wilson back. He still hasn't signed anywhere. Uh,
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, former Jet, went to the Ram. Didn't he go to the Rams, right?
Yeah, right. And Cooper Cup's expected to be released if
Mhm.
they can't find a trading partner for him before the league season officially starts, I guess.
Yeah, so it's been kind of
So yeah,
crazy.
is that what does that do to the Rams? Is Javante Adams or isn't the same type of player at all as Cooper Cup,
Cub.
but they have Puka Nakua, who kind
Nakua.
of is the same player as Cup in some way, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know what's gonna really happen there.
Yeah,
Um, is it Joey Bosa went to Buffalo, it just turned out now. So
right.
that's a big gain for the For the Bills, they had some edge. I don't think they had a lot of great edge. Von Miller has been great, but he's up there in years now, so
I think they're releasing him. Is that right?
probably I don't.
I think I'd heard that they were planning on releasing Von Miller.
Yeah, so it's hard. This is like only day 2 or 3 of the so-called legal tampering period, and all these things
Right.
happened. It's kind of different from how like baseball and other things. Football moves. It seems like it moves stuff. I guess there are a lot more players on rosters, so it seems things move faster because
Right.
or the NBA because you only have 12 or 13 guys in the NBA roster, and you have 50 something on NFL rosters, and team. And I think careers are shorter, and teams are quicker to get rid of players, and
The
it's
contracts aren't guaranteed necessarily.
no,
So
yeah,
yeah. I guess yeah, like financial contract signing anyway was a big deal the last week. That was the Josh Allen signing. What was it, a
yeah,
6 year, 330,
yeah,
330 million, $250 million guaranteed deal to stay in
yeah.
Buffalo?
That's a lot of money. You know, it seems like Mahomes is probably going to get a new contract at some point.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs are probably restructuring Mahomes' contract to stay on the salary cap, and they have to afford because Trey Smith got the franchise tag, so they're gonna have to afford Trey Smith. They're gonna have to afford, the new tackle. If they want somebody else, you know, I'm sure they'll still want to make a pretty big flashier free agent signing. I would guess maybe
I think.
they need defensive line help probably since maybe Amenahu's probably going to be gone. Uh,
Yeah. If Wharton actually was
Orton's already
pretty
gone.
solid. So if
Yeah,
he's out, then
yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be there's a lot of work to do
They have basically
for the Chiefs.
Karlaftis and Jones are probably the only ones that are really and uh, uh, Nudike Uzama, but he's still around. But like the rest of the
Mm,
guys are probably might be a lot of rotation. Oh, they did resign Mike. They re-signed Nick Bolton
yes,
as well.
which is
So
a big deal. That's another
yeah,
anchor in
yeah.
the defensive.
They let Justin Reed
But
go. They re-signed Bolton. So maybe they think their younger safeties are some people that can step in.
yeah.
Maybe it's easier to find safety help than it is
Well, they
linebacker.
already have McDuffie, right? So
Yeah, like yeah, they have good corners and already. So and they got Fulton. Was it Christian Fulton? Was it Fulton? Is his last name?
yeah, Fulton is he's a corner.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, McDuffie's a corner though. So they have two corners, and yeah, that you've heard of,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens on the defensive end of things, and they probably still need a running back, unless because it's Hunt. I think Hunt is a free agent, and so is
Hmm.
P. Ryan's left already. The I saw that I don't know if the Chiefs will try to get a fullback back into the things because they had Steele last year, but Kyle Juszczyk was released also by the 49ers. They've gotten two 49ers already in Elijah Mitchell and Jalen Moore. Maybe they'll try to get another. Uh,
Yeah,
maybe the 49ers are kind of rebuilding and getting rid of talented players because they need to pay Brock Purdy. But
yeah.
yeah, so we'll see what
What
happens.
what do you think about Seattle then too? They picked up Darnold, but they're losing their two best wide receivers. Is this just going to be like a full like write off year? Like, is it just going to be a rebuild and that's it, or is it or do you expect them to be contenders even
I'm sure
with a
they
couple changes?
I'm sure they'll try to say it's like a soft rebuild, sort of they're rebuilding while they're contending. It's you could say the same stuff is happening with all the teams in the NFC West right now. Because the way San Francisco seems like they're losing players, and the Rams are trying to readjust. They did re-sign Stafford, but they were readjusting otherwise. So maybe
Yeah,
it's just maybe it's just churning, the typical churning. But
yeah,
it seems like probably the new Mike McDonald, the new coach, the second year coach now, I guess, in Seattle. Maybe he wants to have his own style of team and just wants to get his players in rather than dealing with the older generation.
Yeah. So
So
maybe just jump starting the rebuild rather than waiting for a year to do it.
yeah, that could
Yeah.
be. I don't know what's going on in Arizona. I haven't heard much from them in terms of free agency and
It has
signing.
been pretty quiet, hasn't it? Yeah.
It seems like a lot of teams are a little noisy, but there are also a lot of quiet teams as well. So uh,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of time, and things will change. And um, yeah, I don't. We can talk. We'll find out more next week as we get closer to the draft. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's March, which means we're in March Madness about for college basketball. It's we as you mentioned when we started going on the air. It's the beginning of the conference tournament season for basketball conferences. The Big 12 tournament with its six are there 16 teams in the Big 12 right now. Um,
Right.
uh, it's not having a typical 16 team single elimination tournament. It's having a weird kind of modified system of buys and play-in games and things like that.
Yeah.
One of the big stories was, did you see the court? Have you seen the basketball court that the team that they're playing on?
No, I haven't even noticed it.
It apparently has it's either interesting or it's an eyesore. It has like a bunch of small Big 12 logos plastered across the entire court. Um,
Interesting.
uh,
I wasn't even paying attention. Is it not it's here in Kansas City though,
it
isn't it?
is.
That's strange. I didn't know that they were
Yeah, the Big 12.
tend to use like a weird flora for
Yeah,
the Big
look up like Big 12 conference floor court or something. And um it's gray and it has like all these 12s across it.
Oh. Ooh. That's tough to look at from certain angles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
got
can see
X
that
on
being
top,
a
X,
huge
Roman
distraction.
numerals. Yeah, maybe if you're on the court, it's not as bad, or if your TV doesn't quite pick it up, but yeah, it's a lot of X's and I's all
Yeah, so it's just XII all the way across,
Mhm.
very close together. Wow, that is tough. What is why do these why do they keep doing this? Like it seems like a couple of schools have these like weird floors like well like Oregon has
Uh-huh.
that forest scene that they have that's like almost
Uh-huh.
impossible to look at.
Yeah.
Why are they doing this? Like what
Yeah, I think it's just a thing that a lot of courts are doing now. Yeah.
well that is really hard to look at though, the 12s.
Again, apparently Iowa State really likes it, so
Yeah.
players.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if they can shoot well while playing on it, then I don't care. But right, then
Yeah.
I'm not going to be upset about it. But I do think it looks bad.
Yeah, it's very busy. I'll call it that. Yeah, it's gray. It's like a gray court and full of X's and I's. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, that was the story I wanted to see if you had heard before the tournament
Wow.
started. But that's the I guess it debuted with the women's tournament, which was earlier this past week. But now the men's tournament also has the
Hmm.
same court in is it the T-Mobile? Was it called the T-Mobile Center now?
It is, yeah.
Not the
Which
Sprint. Oh, the Sprint
I don't
Center.
care for. I didn't really like Brent as the sponsor either. So
I guess they were a Kansas City company,
yeah,
but
but
yeah,
still,
it's better than Acrisure Stadium,
for
formerly
sure.
Heinz Field. At least
Acrisure.
it's better than I think it's better than GEHA Field at Arrowhead too as well. I think that's so stupid.
Yeah. The one that I always thought was funny was the Great American Ballpark was the one that I always laughed at anyway. And you're like, that's a weird thing to call it.
But wasn't like Great American was like the name of the? company that
Something like
sponsored.
an insurance company, yeah, Great American Insurance or something.
Yeah,
It's like,
Gamer ballpark. Yeah,
I was like, that's awfully cocky to call it the Great American Ballpark. Like, what about all the other ballparks, right?
yeah, yeah. I thought
Somebody's going to be
when
take
the
offense
Oakland
to this.
when the Oakland Coliseum
No,
was
it's
the O.co, that was pretty funny.
because it was overstock.com, which became
O. dot-
o.co.
And then Oakland Coliseum was O.co as well.
Oakland Coliseum, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's not as bad as like the crypto.com,
yeah.
what was the former Staples Center
Crypto. Yeah,
and
I
crypto.com.
guess there's Enron Field, of course. That was maybe the most.
Notorious. Lots
Livestrong
of,
was probably up there too for the Sporting KC.
yeah,
I guess the Livestrong Foundation didn't do anything wrong. It was just that it was associated with uh,
right.
Armstrong.
With an individual that had a, yes, less than ideal past, I guess.
Yeah. Um,
Sure.
Speaking, yeah. Well, we're talking about the stadium. Speaking of what's happening in those arenas and stadiums, uh, we would you care to make bets on who is going to win the conference tournaments to return to our betting roots here at the Warren Trick Power? It's been a few weeks since we've made bets. Our gambling Jones is heating up. Uh, got an itch for winning. Um, so we
Mm,
were thinking if we would make bets on who would win the conference tournaments among the five major I guess there are four Power Four conferences plus the Big East. It seems like the other major conference right now in men's basketball. They're kind of spread. There are also maybe there's some mid majors that are pretty high up too, but we'll stick with the Big East and the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC and SEC. Um, so you want to we before we went on the air, we actually made our bets for these conference tournaments. Do you want to reveal who we're betting on and see? And we'll see. We each bet $200 on the conference tournament futures, $100 on two teams in the tournament, and so that's $1,000 total. We'll see if either of us comes close to making our money back.
right.
That's I don't know if this is the wisest thing to do this way, but um,
Yeah. We alternated picks. We don't have the same ones. Uh,
yeah.
we each got like a first pick in different conferences. Then, right, we went from there.
Yeah. So want to
Right.
start with Big 12? Uh
And, and I had the first pick in the Big 12. And I went Homer, like the Iowa State Cyclones, plus 600 was my first pick.
and I went
Well, might not be the best way to have gone about this, but I got
I,
the first pick. I got to take the Cyclones just to make sure you wouldn't take them from me, basically.
yeah,
Right?
I went with Arizona. What are they plus
Plus 400.
400? Um and then you went with the next pick, which I believe was the chalk pick.
Yeah, because you didn't take it.
No.
Houston was still available plus 100. So I
I
got it.
basically wanted to set it up so I would take the team that you least liked as my number two pick, the University of Kansas
Boo.
at plus 1,000. So if the
Boo.
Jayhawks win this, if the Jayhawks win the Big 12, I will break even. And so it
Break
doesn't
even right from the beginning.
right at the beginning. It won't even matter what happens.
Yeah.
So
I
that
don't think
will
they're winning, Mike. I don't, this is not their, we've not played all that well this season. So,
but they are villains and they are from only 35, 40 miles away from the T-Mobile Center. So
yes.
they're the closest team. Um,
Yeah.
Are you still do you still think the Big 12 tournament should be in Missouri, in Kansas City, Missouri, even though the University of Missouri is no longer in the Big 12? There's no Missouri team. It's still fairly geographically central, though.
Yeah. It's still pretty, well, relatively central now. The conference is so coast to coast anyway.
Yeah,
It's still central, but the headquarters are still in, or are they? Are they still in Kansas City, Missouri? That's where it used to be. But then they like were sort of decentralized, right? Where they had like a sort of Texas
yeah, they're in
headquarters
Irving,
and a
Texas.
Missouri.
They're in Irving,
Yeah.
Texas now.
Okay, so their tie to Kansas City is a bit odd now. So I'm a little surprised they have continued to have it in Kansas City at
Well,
all, let alone in Kansas City, Missouri.
it's a little weird to have it in. Texas too, because now the flagships, Texas and Oklahoma, that
Right.
you
Have
know
bailed.
have left. As is A&M, they've also left. So like there are a couple Texas teams left, but and one Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, Kansas City I think still is geographically pretty central. Um, it's a little north maybe of the center, but they also have you still have West Virginia and um, Cincinnati now, so it's still kind of closer to them. And
University
then
of Central Florida,
Florida,
obviously.
you have BYU and Arizona State and Utah. So like, yeah, it's all over. So Kansas City, I think
Yeah, it's
footprint is
very
still
odd.
it's still fairly centered. Uh,
Yeah. I like that they, had done it in Kansas City for a long time, but it just makes less sense the further we've gone, from the beginning of the Big 12,
I
right?
think
When the
yeah, I think
when the,
Kansas
when the
City
conference
though,
headquarters was in Kansas City, okay. That's the easiest reason why you have the tournament there, because that's where the business center is for the
yeah.
conference.
Well, they have had other tournaments in like Dallas and stuff, and it hasn't done as well, I don't think, because I think Kansas
Yeah.
City it always sells out in Kansas City,
Yeah. And
because
there are
Kansas City
multiple
is a
teams that
college
like
basketball town.
travel very well to there. And like, I
Yeah.
mean, Iowa State travels, incredibly well to Kansas City.
Hmm.
People from Ames will come down just to watch the game across the
Yeah.
street from from the arena, not even go in because they can't get tickets frequently because there's just
Yeah.
so many people that already are trying to go.
And
So
Kansas City has the NCAA headquarters history. It's not only in Kansas City, it's in Indianapolis now, but it was in Kansas City. So there's a lot of
there's a
college basketball
college basketball Hall of Fame
in Kansas City. Yeah.
there too. That's
Yeah,
like
it's
right
more
next
of a
to the stadium.
basketball town than Dallas has been, even though Dallas, I guess, college basketball town than Dallas has been. Uh,
Yeah,
so those seems like those are the two big cities that um, would be the, I guess, Denver now, maybe with Colorado and the Utah schools back in it, and or it's not as out of the way. Um, Phoenix and is a little farther. It's on one end, you know, the other, if you go to Cincinnati, or so there's other places. It's that's the only thing is that there's no team in Missouri any longer, but you still
right,
you still have multiple teams that are just 3 hours away, um,
right,
less.
right.
Um,
And I think, Kansas City ends up being a hub for graduates of all of the schools that are nearby.
yeah,
So like a lot of people end up relocating to Kansas City after they finish their college careers. So Kansas City is a, relatively major destination for graduates of all of those schools, right?
yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens later. Future Big 12 tournaments. You know where they're how long Kansas City is supposed to have it?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they're on. If it's a just a year-to-year contract with it, or if it's a long-term deal. I'm not even sure at all.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I'm looking things up, seeing if
It's
we.
probably on like a Wikipedia page for Big 12 tournament.
Okay, here's Big 12 tournament locations 2026, 2027, and beyond. So dating back to 1997, Kansas City has held the event all but 5 years. It's been in the Sprint Center every year since 2008, except for two. 2009 it was in Oklahoma City, and none in 2020. Big uh, well, many. I think the Big 12 will keep it in Kansas City from 2026 until 31. So,
Oh yeah, they already have it listed out for 2031, don't they?
uh-huh.
Huh. So,
It's going to be in Kansas City for the.
the cited article is no longer available, so you can't. The reference doesn't work.
Yeah, mine says my Sports Illustrated one says it's going to be there. So until
Yeah.
Christian one, so
All right. Good. Well, that's good. Glad to hear that's in Kansas City. From the Big 12 tournament, though, we went next to the Big 10 tournament, and you got to
yeah.
pick first there.
I did pick first in the Big Ten. I decided to pick the classic Big Ten team, Maryland, as the winner of the Big Ten, partly because they're also well, one of the closer teams to me. I think maybe Penn State might be as close as the University of Maryland in College Park, but
So you didn't go
um,
homery because you could have gone Penn State because you
Penn State.
attended Penn
Penn
State.
State, I believe, might be actually not included in the Big Ten odds because there were a few teams that were out. They might have been also
Yeah.
been like plus 30,000. Penn State does not necessarily have a great basketball team like Maryland is usually has a pretty good team. So I
Yeah.
decided to go Maryland, being I'm in Frostburg, Maryland. So University of Maryland plus 400.
And then I went traditional Big Ten basketball powerhouse Michigan State at plus 250.
And then I went with Purdue at plus 650. This was another traditional power in the Big Ten. So how about your other Big Ten
And then
team?
I finished with Illinois plus 700. So I think we skipped one team that had decent odds, I think. But
But we kept UCLA, I think, was up there.
yeah, I think UCLA
We
was the one that
decided
we
to go traditional Big Ten instead of, at least compared to UCLA, Maryland is a traditional Big Ten school at this point.
right.
They've
Right.
been, well, how long have they been in the Big Ten? 5, 10 years maybe at this point?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Maryland joined the Big Ten in 2014, so it's been 11 years now they've been in the Big Ten.
Wow.
My time has flown. Uh,
Yeah.
all right, speaking of, let's get one more big conference to go to the Big 12, the Big 10, now the Big East. Uh, and I believe you picked first in the Big East.
Yeah. Yes. And I took St. John's at plus 140,
Yeah, St.
the
John's. We talked a little about St.
regular
John's
season champion. Yeah.
last week. They are, Rick Pitino's team, uh, plus 150, they're the favorite. I decided to pick the two-time reigning NCAA basketball champion, UConn Huskies, as my first pick. They're at plus 350. So they're, I think, second in terms of odds. Uh, and
I stretched a bit down to Xavier at plus 800 for my
Xavier.
second pick in the Big East.
But you picked two Catholic schools, which is the Big East's bread and butter, other than
Right.
UConn, and I believe Butler is a non-Catholic institution. All the rest
Yeah.
of the colleges are Catholic schools. So I think I went with Creighton, the other Jesuit Catholic institution in Omaha, Nebraska. Also, the alma mater of former North Kansas City High School alumnus Alan Huss, current coach of the High Point University basketball team, which has made the NCAA tournament this year. They were, I believe, was a Big South regular season champions last year, but lost in the tournament. This year they won the tournament, so they're going to be in the tournament. I actually saw Alan Huss listed as the number two hottest coaching candidate to go to a bigger school, major conference school, from a smaller school on some article on ESPN, I believe.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. I mean, if you take a school that most people haven't even heard of to the tournament, then you do tend to get noticed.
Yes. Uh, Although High Point did offer a contract extension recently to Alan Huss.
Yeah. As you would also expect, right?
Yes, although I did see Alan mentioned also just now in a article about who's going to be the next NC State head coach, and he was listed as one of the several candidates.
Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
because I guess he's in North Carolina already. So
Is
yeah,
that
so
where High Point is? I didn't even know.
High Point is in North Carolina. Yeah, it's in this town
Yeah,
called High
I
Point
didn't even
in North
know.
Carolina. Uh,
Is that because it is
a high point in the
pretty?
state.
Yeah, is it like a physically high or like a emotional high point?
I would
What's
guess
the
all of the above, I suppose.
yes, just yes.
Yeah, yeah. This is yeah he's led the team to incomparable success at High Point compared to their usual histories. So they announced a contract extension with him in March. Again, maybe just to try to keep him around. Um, we'll see what happens. He might jump to a bigger university, especially if they do well in the tournament. He might.
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Um,
especially one of our classmates even.
one of our classmates, yes, here at the One Track Power. We are very closely connected to a lot of stars. Uh, of
Such
oh,
as Coach Allen Huss.
Coach Us. Have you seen any pictures? Have you seen any pictures of Alan lately?
I just saw like a photo from recently anyway, I guess from the yeah, maybe it was from the tournament even that the conference
Yeah,
tournament.
he's shaving his head now.
Yeah. I assume he's still very tall though. I don't
Yeah, very
that's
tall.
the thing I'm fairly certain of, Mike.
Yeah, he's tall. I think 6'9", something like that. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so what that was the big. That's the Big East.
Yes. Now we're on to the
Now,
ACC where you
which
pick first.
so speaking of North Carolina, I am picked a team from North Carolina to win the ACC. Not the University
Yes.
of North Carolina, but Duke, which is overwhelming favorites to win the ACC tournament, minus 325. It's almost not worth my trouble picking them because I will lose money on these bets if they win anyway. But
Right.
I guess I won't lose as much money as if I didn't pick them. So
Right.
Duke is at minus 325, so they are the overwhelming favorites to win the ACC tournament.
Since they are such big favorites, I didn't really see the need to pick like the next team in line anyway. So I went down to just a little bit to Clemson at plus 550 for my pick.
And I went somewhat chalky with Louisville at plus 450. I believe they're the number two team. Uh, the former Rick Pitino uh,
Right.
team now, or one of the former Rick Pitino teams.
Yes.
Well, I think you will pick another former Rick Pitino
I already
team.
did. I already did.
Well, you picked a current Rick Pitino team, but you're going to pick another.
Oh,
You're going to pick
another
another
former.
former Rick Pitino team.
Yes.
I guess we neither of us picked up Providence, which he also had coached. So in the Big
Right.
East, but I believe it's a preview of what's going to happen in the SEC. But um, yeah,
That's right. I'd forgotten
yeah.
about that too. Yes,
How about
yes.
yours? How was your second uh, ACC team?
I did end up going with North Carolina as my second pick in the ACC at plus 2200, which is the
Ooh, bigger
longest
odds
odds of any team we've picked thus far.
thus far, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll have some big odds in the SEC because so it was your turn to pick first in the SEC, Dr.
And
Scott.
I went with Auburn at plus 160, the regular season champion, I believe.
Yeah, and I went with the second best odds at plus 250 with Florida. And then this is where it starts getting a little bit interesting. I previewed the former Rick Pitino team that you had selected, which is
Kentucky,
Kentucky at what are their odds?
plus 2200, same as North Carolina.
And I
But like, tournament, you know, history of success, so it's not as big of a stretch as you might normally think it would be for a team that didn't play all that well, I guess, during the
Yeah,
regular season.
yeah. And I went with a team that the another former Kentucky coach is coaching, and a team that actually beat Kentucky in the regular season, but did not do so well in the regular season. Otherwise, a team that was actually maybe slated to be one of the contenders in the SEC, but has underachieved this year, and that is my alma mater of Arkansas at a whopping plus 10,000. So
But like we talked about last week, they're still in potential contention for an
yeah,
NCAA
if they
tournament
win out,
bid, so they're going to need to play well in this tournament, and why not go with the homer pick, right?
if they win 5 games in 5 days, they will win me 10,000 fake dollars off this
Yes,
$100 bet. So
right. So go
uh,
Arkansas is what you're saying.
yes, so those are our NCAA basketball tournament odds. We will also, of course, next week have our NCAA men's and I guess women's basketball tournament preview as well. It seems like the women's tournament hasn't got nearly the publicity this year as it was last year because of Caitlin Clark's absence and maybe Angel Reese and some of the other big players are no longer. Uh, Also, some of the South Carolina powerhouse hasn't been as powerful either this last year or two. So
No.
some from the year or two before that. So UConn's kind of back on top, but they don't have. It's not quite the star power of the past couple of years in the women's basketball tournament. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, some of that, carried over to the WNBA season.
Hmm.
So like a lot of those players that became household names in March, yeah, continued being household names in the WNBA like the very
Yeah,
next month because they start their season like immediately after.
yeah, which
So
is
that,
insane, but yeah, I guess that's what's just how it works.
but it's great. It's
Uh,
great for momentum for the sport. So I
yeah,
mean, it
yeah,
works out really well for the WNBA, but yeah, that's really hard on everybody's bodies to play
yeah,
that much basketball in that short of time.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but we'll see. I guess we'll see what those tournaments have to hold have in store for us next time, and we will, of course, make our many different bracket picks and
Yes.
see what happens with those and whose bracket will reign supreme and what bracket methodology will
Yes.
reign supreme will be. It seems like usually our own bets do all right. Sometimes they do better even than the power rankings, but it seems like the power rankings are really the way to go. But sometimes you'll get
Pretty
an unusual,
good.
unusual past power ranking or just
Yeah.
odd, coin flip set of odds that might do even better. So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll have the Warren Sharp Power Hour official NCAA tournament brackets discussed next week. So you have that to look forward to and we'll also know, but we'll reveal as well our winners and losers from the conference tournament season. And I think we have, of course, coming up in a few weeks' time, we'll have after the March Madness, we'll delve into the NBA and NHL playoffs as those are coming, and then the Major League Baseball opening day coming up in about 2.5 weeks. So we have, let's want to talk a little spring training, a little Royals before we sign off tonight at the One Trick Power Hour. The Royals right now are, what is the Royals spring training record, Dr. Scott?
That's I looked earlier today and then I already forgot. They're 10-8 now.
10-8. They were, I think the last time I looked, they were 10-6. So
Yeah,
they've
they have
lost a
lost their
couple.
last two games. Yeah.
They've lost a couple. Um, and yeah, but they are still above 500 in spring training. And it seems the players have been playing really well. Maybe the big story, Jac Caglianone continuing to light it up. 3 home runs this spring training, batting 500 something. Was that?
Yeah, I think through 11 at bats, he's like at 545, which is 6 for 11, which is pretty impressive with three home runs. Yeah, that's not bad. And the last one was off of a major league pitcher too. I think it was Aaron Saval. Savale. I don't remember how you say his name. Uh,
And I believe
but
the exit velocity
I
is
mean that's an actual
really high.
major league pitcher.
Yeah. And I believe
And
his
he
exit
went
velocity has been like 115 miles an hour, so which is like higher than any home runs that have been hit by the Royals.
right historically.
Historically, maybe Soler had a couple of those in his big season.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's got a prodigious power. The question maybe now is not if he gets called up in 2025, but maybe when he gets called up in 2025. The Royals have been
Yeah.
playing more in outfield to maybe because they do have kind of a glut at first base with
Hmm.
Pasquantino plus resting Salvi, and
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah. Sal's always going to get some time at first, just because they don't want him to catch 120 games a season. That's just too much.
mhm.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well,
But I think that start that he got recently, he did play at first that day.
okay.
But yeah, it seems like he's gotten some experience in the outfield. They'll probably try him out a lot more in the outfield. Likely when they send him down, I don't think he's probably going to make the major league
I don't
roster
think he'll make the opening roster either. He's
out the
probably going to
gate. Yeah,
he'll either go to Wichita or well, not Wichita, Northwest Arkansas. I'm really dating myself now with the Wichita
right,
AA system. How long has it
right.
been? How long have they been in Northwest Arkansas? About 15 years, probably at this point.
It's been quite a while. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, like Johnny Damon was a Wichita Wrangler, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Northwest Arkansas Naturals. They've been the minor league uh, team
affiliate.
affiliate since 2008. Team relocated from Wichita 2008. So yeah, 17 years now.
This will be the
Uh,
17th year.
we're
Yes,
getting old. And I remember they were the
right.
Memphis Chicks before they were the Wichita Royals or Wichita Wranglers.
Yeah,
Bo Jackson played for Memphis, I remember, but then they were there in Wichita for a while.
the
Uh,
Memphis Chicks is funny. The Chicks is
yeah, what's one of those old kind
funny
of
name.
funny minor league team names that the
Isotopes.
the Mud Hens, the
Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that.
But you have something that's kind of funny around you, don't you?
The Altoona Curve, uh,
Curve. That's it. Yeah.
named for the railroad curve, and there's the
Yeah.
curve mascot. There's also the mascot Al Tuna, a fish, of course,
Yes.
Al
Of
Tuna.
course.
Yeah, so those are the games that are somewhat close to me that I've gone to in the past. Maybe I'll go to a game this summer. They're the Pirates, I believe, AA affiliate. So I went to Pittsburgh Pirates game against the Royals last year in Pittsburgh. I think this year the Royals will probably play the Pirates in Kansas City since usually they're all going to alternate probably home and away every year since they're playing every National League team now.
Right. Yeah. I haven't really looked ahead at like what which series or when or anything. So I can try to scan through here real quick to see when they
July
play.
7th, 8th, and 9th, the Pirates play at the Royals.
Okay. There it is.
And there it is. So we'll have that to look forward to. But yeah, so I think the Royals they're playing pretty good baseball. Hopefully, they can basically stay healthy by the time season rolls around. Because some teams already haven't stayed healthy. We another injury to Garrett Cole has happened. He's now for the Yankees. He's going to have Tommy John surgery, so that's a big blow to the Yankees' chances this year. I would think. Well, they did pick up Max Fried from Atlanta, but
Yeah, we were expecting him to be a compliment to Garrett Cole, and now he's
mm,
has to be like sort of Garrett Cole and the compliment to Garrett Cole, I suppose.
yeah.
That's asking a lot.
Garrett Cole's out quite a bit of the season this past season as well. So he was out until May or June, I think.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but hopefully the Royals, the rotation of Lugo and Reagans and Waka and whoever else ends up being 4 and 5. Guess we'll figure that out as we get closer to the season. Um, stays healthy.
I think Lorenzen's likely the four. I think
Lawrence is the
that's
4.
unless something weird happens. Yeah. I think right now that seems like Bubich has the inside track, I think, for the five.
Ahead of right, even.
I think so. I'm not sure they're expecting Kyle Wright to be ready opening
Hmm.
day. Because I don't think he got even any minor league innings in last year. So my assumption is that they're going to be maybe even starting him in the bullpen just to like try to stretch him out to being
Hmm.
a starter again. If he's even that far along, I'm not even sure if he's. I haven't seen if he's pitched in spring. Have you?
No, I don't think he has. Um,
I haven't heard about him, so that's what I'd be a little surprised if you'd think that there would be more talk about him
he had a hand, looks like
doing either pitching or not pitching, but I don't think I've even heard him being mentioned.
he had a hamstring injury
Uh,
apparently in spring training, so maybe that was what set him back.
well, I know the Royals first round draft pick from 2 seasons ago ended up with a broken bone in his hand, so he's like out for the whole spring. He didn't get to play with the major league camp, like Mitchell,
Oh yeah,
another Mitchell.
the other
Yeah,
Mitchell.
yeah, and that's one of those hand injuries that's may take some time to get his timing back once he's even healthy enough to play.
Yeah,
That's one of those things that the Royals have a tendency to try to rush players back from specific injuries that notoriously cause like timing problems. So
yeah,
hopefully they don't do that with rushing a young player back because he's only like 20, I think, even though he was drafted 2 seasons ago, right?
yeah. He was young. That was one of the criticisms. He was drafted pretty young. The Royals draft a lot of high school players that are not as polished as college players, but of course, and Jac Caglianone they drafted, who was the opposite of that, a very polished
Right.
player. So, usually it's Ellison's idea that college players have less upside than high school players, but it seems like Caglianone has tons of upside as well. So,
I know
um,
it just seems funny to have like a draft pick from a year later be that much further ahead from the draft pick they had 1 season earlier, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah, but he's physically older and much larger and plays a position that they need some help with, I think. So, well, he's capable of playing that position, first base, but also
yeah,
in the outfield, and he's a pitcher too, right? So he has
yeah,
a lot of options, lots of routes to the major leagues if he's healthy in any way.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of lots of routes, did we watched two. I guess this isn't a really good segue. We watched two separate basketball shows uh, on one that's been around for a couple of years now, and one that just started on one on HBO, one on Netflix. The HBO drama Winning Time, and the
Winning
Netflix
time.
comedy. Although it seems like both might be more fittingly described as comedy dramas, at
Yeah.
least so far. At least uh, Running Point, starring Kate Hudson, uh, a fictional
Yes.
version of the Lakers, and then the other one, the Winning Time, is a semi-fictionalized history of the Lakers.
Right.
Uh,
Yes.
which one is more, and one is with done with approval of the Bus family, and one is was done with, it seems like, without the approval of the Bus family. Um,
Right. And the one with the approval, they've changed all the names though, and they're not
the
technically the
Los
Bus
Angeles
family in the
Way,
series.
starring Kate Hudson as the
Right.
general manager, president of the Los Angeles
I think they're
Bay
the Gordon family, I believe, in the
Gordon family. Yeah.
not the Bus family, but yes.
So, what did you think? So, you seen Winning Time before? This is your second watch of Winning Time. Did you
Yes,
rewatch the first episode?
I
We're each
I
through one
did.
episode of each. Which so just and you watched the first episode of Running Point as well. Uh, looking at the show, do you have a preference of one show to another? One is an hour long sort of drama. One's a half hour comedy. Is do you like one better than the other?
Yeah, so they have similar source material, and the characters are very overlapping between the two series. But yeah, I think like Winning Time has kind of an interesting way of doing their storytelling that I do appreciate with the like sort of the asides, like talking to the camera to advance the storyline more quickly.
Breaking of the fourth wall.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, at different times, yeah, Jerry Buss will have a conversation with his attorney, and then he'll just like turn to the screen and just say what he's actually thinking to you, the viewer.
Much
I
like
do appreciate that in the show. It does make it more humorous, and can advance the storyline a little maybe quicker without having to just wait to see what happens. Like they can just tell
yeah.
you what they're thinking immediately rather than recap it later or something. Uh, did you enjoy that, or do you find that tiresome?
That's okay. Sometimes it's done. Sometimes it's overdone. Sometimes it's done all right. I've yet to really develop a solid opinion of either show right now.
Yeah,
If I had to pick one over the other, I would pick Winning Time over Running Point because I think I didn't like the way Running Point opened, where like they just opened kind of explaining all the characters rather than like showing how those characters. Where they say, "Oh, this is my brother. He's like this. This is my other brother. He's like this. This is my third brother. He's like this. And here's me. I'm like this." Uh,
right.
then something happens, and then now I'm the one who's like this. I'm going to be in charge of the team now. And there was a lot of stuff that happened, but it seemed like that could have been done more organically. And maybe the show had begun with uh, the Genie Bus character as being in charge. And it would have, a little more like maybe The Office with Michael Scott already in charge. They didn't show him getting, how he got to where he was. He was just already there.
Well, there
And
wasn't 10 minutes of narration explaining how they got there either,
yeah, you
right?
didn't have this narration explaining what happened. And I don't know if you needed that part.
Yeah.
I think it could have.
Yeah, because you can always sort of jump in and then you can, talk about what happened in the past, or
Yeah, it's a little
you can learn the past through the present, right?
more like 30 Rock or something. They didn't they sort of start. They had a few things start new, but it was already started. It wasn't like oh you know it's not Tina Fey just Liz Lemon just arriving on the scene. She's already been at the girly show
Right.
for a while. They're
She's
just
already in charge.
well,
She's
they're
not
bringing
like
some of
having
the
to
other
ascend to the position that she's in.
Jack Donaghy and Tracy Jordan, Tracy Morgan coming in.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's an established group that already exists.
and
Maybe
there's funny stuff already going on. They're trying to build it. I didn't think there was a lot of humor. It was supposed to be a comedy. I didn't see a lot of really funny stuff in it. Like it seems to more like maybe it's more of a dramedy, but it's been billed more as a comedy. I think the way it
yeah. Well, I
and
think yeah, both shows are written or created by established comedy people. Because the Winning Time was an Adam McKay
yeah,
show, and who's been around for quite a while, been responsible for a lot of comedy movies, especially.
yeah.
And then Running Point is Mindy Kaling, as since you already mentioned The Office, is the creator with input from Jeannie Buss, who's an executive producer on the show too. Were were you surprised that Jeannie Buss was not just like maybe consulted, but is an executive producer, actually
I
part of
don't
the
know if I was
show in some way?
surprised, but I guess it's interesting that that's how they're doing it, and in some ways it gives you an inside glimpse, but it also might be a less harsh reality that it's going to not portray. It's not going to portray Kate Hudson's character probably in the same negative light as because you don't want it because it's supposed to be Jeannie Buss and she's part of it.
Mm,
It's we aren't going to maybe there are punches. You both have access, but you also maybe have punches pulled because of that access. So it's a mixed bag, I
right,
think.
yeah.
Getting the real inside scoop versus it's not. I think the Lakers dynasty one is more of a it's more of like so from like a tell-all kind of perspective that isn't really an approved perspective, and
Right.
that might
And
be.
as evidenced by many of the personalities that are involved in the show in real life being not too happy about it, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's hard. Yeah, I don't know if you want to know what really happened or just have a fun story. So I right now I am enjoying Winning Time more. I've only seen one episode of each show, but
Right.
I I was put off again kind of by the explaininess of maybe it's for the certain audience, but I didn't think they needed to explain where the characters came from. I think you can explain some of the basketball dynamics and things like that to the audience, but I didn't think they needed to explain this. This is my family. This family member. He's weird in this way. This other family member. He's weird in this way. And here's my other family member. He's weird in this way. And
Yeah.
this is going to happen. It just, I would have, yeah,
Well, you'd figure out a lot of it just by what happens in the first few minutes of the
uh-huh.
show anyway. Like you didn't need to know some of the backstory about the brother that was running the team.
Yeah.
They tell it to you anyway in how they, transfer power from him to
Mhm.
the Genie Bus character anyway. So we didn't really need the narration there anyway, right?
Yeah, that was anyway. That's part I saw as the weakest, and it kind of soured me from the
Yeah.
beginning. It was one of those things in writing classes and in drama. You're supposed to show, not tell. You're supposed to show. You illuminate character not by telling us what the character is, but by
Yeah.
having incidents that show them. I think that's what the best character-driven shows do. They don't kind of you know the rest of the development didn't explain who they did kind of explain they were people that were related, but they didn't say, well, this is my mom, she's like this is my dad, he's like this. We know that this is their mom and dad, but
Yeah, I
Lucille
think
Blue.
they sort of like I think the narrator says something about who's, Ron Howard, right?
Yeah,
Uh would just say like, "Oh, this is so and so," and then they show her doing
doing
something,
something.
right?
Yeah,
And then so like you learn what she does immediately. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think something
Yeah.
like that is a better, because they still could have the narrator doing it as that part rather than just explaining. Like, yeah, do it with the characters showing uh more. But maybe they just wanted to dive in. They wanted to get as much backstory out of the way before they started it. But I think they could have started more in the middle of things and then flashed back or something, or done more timeline like that. But sometimes it's
Yeah.
also a lot of flashbacks and flash forwards. I think they should sometimes have a more simple timeline. But in this case, I'm yeah, I think it seems like the winning time seems to have a pretty fairly straightforward simple timeline. It starts with Jerry Buss trying to buy the Lakers, buying the Lakers, drafting Magic Johnson, and or thinking about drafting Magic. I don't think he's actually drafted Magic Johnson by this point in the first episode.
Right. You can see that's where it's going. But I mean, again, these are
And
both of these shows are the same
you
source
know where
material,
it's going because we know what
and you sort of
happened.
already know what it is, right? Because we're alive during this era, so we've, heard the
And I guess
stories to some
technically
extent.
winning time started with the Magic Johnson HIV diagnosis as well. So it sort of had a flash forward, flashback feel, but for the
Yeah,
most part, it's been a pretty linear story. But
right.
I like John C. Riley. I think Kate Hudson's a good actress, but I don't uh, know a lot of the other characters in the actors aren't as recognizable in Running Point as they are in at least some of them are in Winning Time.
So the middle brother, the one that has like the basketball experience in Running Point,
Uh,
has been in a few shows he was in the Mick,
mm,
which was pretty funny.
Caitlin Olsen.
Yes, yeah, basically the same character as Sweet D
Yeah.
from It's Always Sunny,
Yeah.
but his character in the Mick is actually he's somewhat similar in all the shows I've seen him in since then anyway. But he is very funny though. Like I
Yeah.
had never seen him before the Mick, and he's great in that show. So he's similar to that character in the other roles I've seen him in too. That in Running Point.
So I guess I guess we'll watch another episode each before next time, and we can see how the episodes are growing on us, whether the show is growing on us or not, or we can decide how much we want to watch between now and next time. But
Yeah.
so if you want to keep up with us, start watching Running Point on Netflix and Winning Time. Start watching it or watch it again on HBO or on Max. I guess it's on Max. Yeah, it's no
It
longer
might be
H.
available through HBO still, but
It's no longer HBO Max. I was going to say HBO Max, but they
right.
changed just to Max because I don't know why. Because they wanted to get rid of because HBO is what is the brand that people want to watch.
Right.
Let's get rid of the HBO and just go Max
Yeah,
because we
the premier name of the group anyway, they've done away with. It doesn't really make
they wanted like a short, snappy thing, but also it was like an HBO Cinemax thing together. And that's why it was
right.
HBO Max. And
So now it's just named after the minor
yeah,
of the two, right? So it's yeah, it's very odd that they've, chosen that to be there. But I guess it's short and it sounds big, I guess.
I
So
guess it's also like you think is Apple TV Plus? Is it just going to become app? Is it just going to become Plus at some point, or Disney
yeah,
Plus is just going to become Plus?
plus. Well, they'll
Or
all
Paramount Plus.
merge together at some
There's
point.
multiple pluses, I guess. Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. But with the consolidation sort of the like streaming services, don't you think eventually we'll just have like one giant property that is like all encompassing, like a Marvel, Star Wars, Disney combination where all the characters of all of the shows are now intertwined in one narrative universe? Is that where
uh,
we're going?
in one profit-making device. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I hope not, but we'll see what happens by next week when we come back with next week's episode of the Warren Trip Power After we're one step closer to this all-encompassing blob of um, intellectual property that's been merged into one thing,
Yes.
crammed into one size fits all little uh, show type of thing. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but
Now, if this
when
is the 30 Rock universe, it might all be underneath the Morning Track Power Hour eventually. So,
I'm Shine was the Shineheart Wig Company was that
yes. Bravo, Mike. Because yeah, even that all of television was under the appliance division, right, of General Electric.
yeah.
But it was all owned by the Scheinhardt Wig Corporation. Yes. The complicated org chart that they showed during the yes, it's fantastic. What a
Yeah.
great show, Mike.
That was a good
30
show.
Rock.
Yeah, I need to rewatch some of that. I think it's on. I think it's on Hulu, maybe,
Well,
maybe Amazon. Um,
maybe that'll be a future Warning Track Power Hour will be for us to go back, recap, and rewatch
looks like
30
maybe it's on
Rock.
Hulu and Peacock and maybe Disney Plus as well
Uh,
because Hulu and Disney Plus are slowly merging together as well.
it should be on Peacock though, because it's an
Yeah,
NBC show,
yeah.
right? It was a yeah,
I think it was sold to Hulu at some point too. Uh,
yeah. And Hulu's like tied in with FX, right? Don't they have some like
yeah,
partnership for FX Hulu
yeah.
shows?
Well, like
Something like
because now Fox and Disney are the same, so Hulu is part of Fox and Disney and
yeah.
yeah.
ABC has always been tied in with Disney, which ESPN is also, right?
Yes.
But that was one of those great stories about giant conglomerates like not even knowing how much and what they specifically own. Whereas, supposedly some high level meeting where somebody said that they should in Disney thought that they should pursue ESPN
Hmm.
as a property they should prefer to pick up, and then they had to be informed that they already own it. Actually, we already own it. When we bought ABC, it was part of that deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I think we've officially bottomed out here tonight. The One Trick
Uh-oh.
Power.
Not again. Not again.
No, I don't think we would bottom out. I think we've reached the end of our momentum. Our momentum has kind of come to a natural conclusion here, and I
There
think
we go.
we're to
That
sign
sounds
up.
much better.
It reminds me of when we haven't gotten as far as the Seinfeld episode when it was the episode where Kramer found the old Merv Griffin show set
Yes, the set.
and and
Yeah.
and Newman were talking, and Newman was talking about how he buys generic wax beans now. He goes, take the label off, you can hardly tell the difference. And Kramer goes, well, now we've officially bottomed out. He wanted to retool, make something more edgy and exciting, without, so yeah, generic
Generic wax beans is not it. That's
wax.
not.
That is, I think, the funniest because wax beans are funnier than green beans. 'Cause who eats no, who actually buys the wax beans? I don't know anybody who actually would buy wax beans.
No.
I don't even know what a
Wait, you
wax.
can even buy wax beans anymore?
I don't know. Do they taste like green beans? I've never had. I don't think I've ever had wax beans.
I don't know.
But
You're gonna have to give a review of wax beans next week, Mike, in our next episode.
so what are wax beans exactly? They're a type of green bean, aren't they?
I thought so, but I don't know for sure.
Yellow podded green beans are also known as wax beans. So maybe there's a different type of green bean.
Hmm. They're not green enough to be called green beans. They're wax beans.
They're yellower green beans. I've never, yeah, generic
Yeah.
beans.
It doesn't sound appetizing just in the name itself, right?
Wax.
So
Name
like you don't really
wax.
think of wax being an edible thing.
Yeah, or if it is edible, it's not a tasty thing. It's
It's not appealing. It's not, you're not selling it to me, Mike. That's what it
you,
is.
you might protect food in wax or something like that, but it's not. Or wax fruit, you don't eat it's something that's an art makes it artificial and not quite.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we
It's
won't
like
be
it's like the
wax
packaging material that you put your food inside,
wrap
right?
cheese in it, or
Yeah.
seal something. Candles, wax, it can be okay, but you don't want to eat it or wax
Baseball
lips.
cards might be in a wax pack.
Wax pack. Yeah, did you ever have those wax lips? Did you ever eat those?
Oh, yeah.
They weren't very tasty, but they were just good.
Yeah. I don't think you're supposed to eat those, Mike. That's what.
Oh no. Highly toxic. Um, yeah.
Yes.
So wax beans. So we will this is so our show is uh waning rather than waxing.
Huh. Now we're like moon phases.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I think we can wrap up this episode of the One Trick Power Hour since now we're talking about generic wax beans in
I think it's time.
time time to end it. Uh, as always, we are we are the One Trick Power Hour. I can't remember how I did it anymore. I've so focused on the wax beans. Um, as always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is
There we
Dr.
go.
Andrew
Now you
Scaff.
found it.
We are the One Track Power Hour. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms. We promise all of the episodes are not talking about wax beans if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, but maybe one or two might in the future go back to wax beans, and maybe we can review our wax beans intake in a future episode when we buy, name. I don't know if there are any name brand wax beans. Maybe does Green Giant make a wax bean?
No
We'll,
clue, Mike.
we'll
Not
find
a
out.
clue.
Libby's maybe.
Yeah. Gonna have to
Uh,
be a Warning Track Power Hour investigation.
into the wax bean world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Newman bought the generic wax beans, and he said he could barely tell the difference. So there was still some difference between the name brand and the generic wax bean, but the label, I guess, made more of a difference than the actual taste of the beans itself. So we here at the One Trick Power Hour embrace our label as the greatest sports talk show on the internet. But even if you didn't apply that label, we'd still be a pretty good show, and you would hardly tell the difference. Could hardly tell the difference. So we eschew labels here at the Power Hour, but we do inshoe hard hitting and hair splitting analysis. I don't think that's a word, inshoe, but it seems like it would be the opposite of eschew, or maybe we just chew uh, something.
Is that like being whelmed
Whelmed,
rather
yes.
than over underwhelmed?
Yes.
That's
But we do have hard-hitting, hair-splitting analysis that we will bring back uh, each and every week here at the One Trick Power Hour. And we thank you for your listenership and your viewership. And we also look forward to this weekend's college basketball games, the continued NFL off season, continued Major League Baseball, spring training, and the regular seasons of the NBA and NHL as they come closer to their conclusions. So we have all that to look forward to, and we hope if you're making bets this weekend, we hope you're again. We're here now. We can bring the betting discussion back. We wish
right.
you best of luck in your bets this weekend if you're making them, as long as your interests do not conflict with ours here at the One Trick Power Hour. So, and until next time, we'll be back next week, and until next week, we will wish you a good day.